Thank you for that introduction. Of all the introductions I've had, that was definitely the most recent. And I want to thank you for hosting and inviting me to speak here at the KES, the Korean Electronics Show. Thank you to the Korean Electronics Association. And I want to thank the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy. It is such a great honor to be here in South Korea, a nation that's clearly on the ascendant, especially at a live, face-to-face event after COVID, because what we've learned in COVID is that gatherings like this are where we could form relationships, get to know each other, we could discover new innovations and new technologies, and we can make a difference. And it's gatherings like this one are also what makes our tech industry, our innovation world thrive, because innovation occurs when two different people with different ideas come together and create something better. It's an opportunity for business leaders to share ideas and to make connections. And certainly the Korean Electronics Show, the KES, has led the way for the changes in technology and innovation in Korea for decades. So I'm the president and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association. The Consumer Technology Association is a non-governmental organization based in the Washington, D.C. area, and we represent over 1,500 tech companies, and we own and produce the world's most powerful technology event, the CES. And that's a CES and the KES, we share one thing. It spurs economic development and industry growth. In fact, KES and our show CES were created just a few years apart. Since KES was first launched in 1969 and CES in 1967, the technology in our world has changed in so many different, almost unimaginable ways. If you think back to 1969, what was the internet? In fact, ARPANET, which was the origin of today's internet, had only just become operational. A small computer was the size of 3 big refrigerators. And the computer memory chip, a foundational part of many of today's technology products, would not be introduced for another year. Now, looking back at the technologies of 50 years ago, it's incredible how far we've come. Today, at KES, we can advance technology innovation even further. So as I walked around the exhibition hall this morning, I couldn't help but be excited about the future of technology. In fact, for decades, Korea has been at the forefront of technology innovation and growth. During my 4 decades in the tech industry, I've been able to watch firsthand as Korea transformed its entire innovation ecosystem. And it's built some incredible companies. Just think of it. Who can imagine would there be companies as big and as strong and as globally powerful as Samsung, LG, Doosan, Kia, and so many more? And today, in fact, it's incredible. Look where Korea is. The 3rd largest shipbuilder in the world. The largest shipbuilder in the world, the 3rd largest car manufacturer, the 2nd largest semiconductor market, and a leader in IT and many other technology sectors. Korea is also recognized as a leader in some of the emerging technologies. In fact, it ranks number 2 in the world for both artificial intelligence and robotics adoption. And most recently, Korea has transformed itself into a hub for technology startups. In fact, there's over 15,000 Korea startups. And they're making waves in so many different areas like blockchain, fintech, biotech, IoT, and even beauty tech. And we've seen a lot of those, or many of those startups at CES in Las Vegas. At our show this past January 2023, Korea was by far the largest delegation in Eureka Park, our home for the startups. Only the United States had more startups. In fact, Korea had almost 300 startups in Eureka Park. That is incredible. That's nearly 1/3 of all the companies that were in our startup area. And at CES 2023, Korean companies, including many represented here today, also won more than 200 of our coveted Innovation Awards. This success is a testament to a lot of things. First, the country has focused on creating an innovation ecosystem that protects new ideas. It's a country that understands the important role that technology plays in not only driving the economy here forward, but driving the entire global economy and improving the world, if you think about it. What technology has done in the past 50 years and how the standard of living has grown. So now almost some of the poorest people in the world, through a phone or through a computer connected to the internet or a cell tower, have access to riches of information and education and entertainment that even the wealthiest people just 2 decades ago could not access. And this technology that's coming out of Korea and elsewhere is improving our world through innovations in healthcare, energy, sustainability, you can see it on the show floor, and so much more. Korea has a good strategy. Every year, Korea puts more than 4% of its gross domestic product into research and development. That's one of the highest levels of any country in the world, with 2% of Korea's GDP invested in the local innovation economy. Korea's leaders actually understand that people are a country's greatest asset, emphasizing education and excellence for students across the board. It's obvious that the investment has paid off. Of course, no country can do it alone. In a time of rising global tensions and challenges, it's important for allies like the United States and Korea to strengthen our trade relationship. American companies are now seeking to diversify supply chains out of China. Well, Korea is a valuable partner in manufacturing cutting-edge technology like semiconductors and other components. In fact, just 3 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., we released a report or a study by a consulting firm, and what it looked at was what we can do to get away from relying so heavily on China. And the conclusion was that we should reduce our tariffs with our friends like Korea, and we should urge other trade barriers to fall, especially those with our friends and allies. And together, we should work together to look at where technology in the future is going and figure out what each country is good at rather than trying to move everything to one country, including just the United States, which some have suggested. Because the Korea and the United States are close partners, and we could strengthen our economies and advance innovation by leaning on and learning from one another. Of course, innovation isn't just about delivering new and exciting products and services. It's about unleashing the innovation that makes the world a better place. Just a few weeks ago, our Senior Vice President, Kinsey Fabrizio, and I traveled to New York City. We were there at the opening of the United Nations General Assembly. And together with a top UN official, we made a very exciting announcement that the United Nations will now recognize access to technology as one of the 8 fundamental pillars of human security or human rights. This announcement recognizes the power of technology to address the most fundamental problems in the world and the biggest challenges addressing other human securities, such as access to clean energy and water, the human security of not being hungry, access to food, the ability to not be sick and to get health care, access to education, access to community. These are human securities that the United Nations recognizes today. And as of a few weeks ago, they recognize technology as a fundamental human security. That's a big deal. In fact, this theme of human securities will be central at CES 2024 across our show floor and more than 250 conference sessions. And speaking of CES, I'd like to share just a bit more about what to expect at CES. You'll see the technology, like you see at KES, that's powering global change across the show floor. You'll see it in mobility, where there's so many electric vehicles, which expand. And it's not only about electric vehicles on the road, it's also in the sea and in the air with eVTOLs. Alongside, of course, self-driving cars, trucks, and even farming equipment. You'll see it in digital health, where healthcare is fundamentally improving, especially as the number of doctors and nurses is not enough for what the population of the world has grown to. Digital health is now vital to solving healthcare technology problems. And we see advances in telehealth, we see connected devices, you'll see wearables, which are delivering more than personalized medicine and closing the gap between the patient and the doctor. And actually, Korea is really a world leader in digital health. And we see that at what we're seeing in terms of coming in with the Korean companies coming in with great healthcare technology products into CES. And in financial tech, where actually it makes a difference for people if they have access to banking. In India, they didn't have access to banking 15 years ago, 90% of the population. Now over 90% do, because they developed an online platform. But you'll learn about financial tech at CES, where the future is flexible, digital payments and assets, and it's arriving, making transactions easier between people all around the globe. And of course, technology sometimes solves problems, sometimes it creates its own problems, for example, cybersecurity. But what we're seeing is there's solutions that are coming in cybersecurity, especially as artificial intelligence, especially Gen AI, make a difference. And businesses are investing in new tools to combat cybercrime and protect their data against increasingly complex attacks. And then there's energy production and storage, which is evolving to power our smart home technology, electric vehicles, and more, to reduce the strain on our planet. And there's another area where Korea has really made a difference. Smart cities, where technologies will improve community security, personal safety, and mobility, and even political freedom through innovation. And there's agriculture and food production. And we see some of the great stands and exhibits here, where there's innovations in food production, there's alternative foods, and there's waste reduction. And that will boost the food security of people all over the globe. And Korean's a leader. KES is showing it, and you'll also see it, and you're all invited to attend because you're here today to CES. Of course, I mentioned earlier artificial intelligence, where the world in just 12 months has seen a major shift because of generative AI. It's made headlines, and certainly there's advances that are reliant upon sensors and upon data analysis. And many companies, many entrepreneurs and innovators are coming up as we see the sensors becoming the brain and generative AI is becoming the thought process, which will solve so many problems and create solutions. AI is poised to make a difference across so many swaths of our world and to solve so many problems in every industry and in lifestyles. We'll see it from e-commerce and software development to digital twins, which power limitless R&D, to, of course, robots and self-driving vehicles. And in many of these areas, Korean companies are leading the way. But of course, we can't stop there. We have to continue to drive innovation and discovery and focus on all the good that technology can do for our world and the billions of people who live here. So as tech innovators, we understand that our industry and the world is better off when we work together. So I invite you to think about how innovation occurs, why it's important, Korea's role, your own individual role as entrepreneurs, innovators, thought leaders, and executives, and go to events like KES, visit CES in Las Vegas and other tech shows around the world, and make sure that magic happens, where people get together and discover ideas from one discipline to another and make the world a better place. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.